You ever get that feeling? You ever get that feeling where like almost that like sweaty, like nervous feeling where you're about to be sick? Like I'm having that a lot right now, and like I haven't done or ate anything per. Come on, Palmer. I tell you what, man, Palmer's got a good shot tonight. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see who else is going to join the lobby. At the moment, it looks not empty. I think we should have at least 17 on the grid tonight, but Palmer definitely he could have a good one, no doubt about it. I think any given day of the week we could be looking at drivers really become the class of the field. But I don't even know. Like 10 minutes ago and through to now, I get that. I was just asking, like like sweaty kind of like nervous feeling that you're about to be sick. Like I kind of have that right now. Like I don't know why, but it's there. So if there becomes a point where I suddenly don't broadcast anymore, you'll know what happened. Although that shouldn't happen. Don't worry about it. I've only ever been. Have I ever actually been sick on a broadcast before? I have. I've gotten quite close. There was a time I was broadcasting. Matter of fact, it was actually the two times that I recall being stomach sick on a broadcast. They were both at Mexico. One of them I was driving. That was back in season 7. I was racing, and about 20 minutes prior to the race, I just let it loose. And then 2 seasons ago, I think it was, whenever we visited Mexico last, dude, like I was going into the cast and I was like having to stop and breathe every like 5 words, either that or I was just gonna die. But no, we were good. We were good. I guess Miami, not all that far off from being enough to make someone sick, eh? But as long as you don't support. Oh, what? Ooh, I don't even know how to respond to that. I will neither confirm nor deny. Mostly deny. There's a difference, I think, between supporting black people and supporting BLM. I support the hell out of black people. BLM, that those people are just out of their fucking minds. Like there comes a point, right? I'm not going to get political any more than that, but I'm sure that's not the most uncommon of view. Anyways, I got Miami tomorrow. Free practice. Actually, no, it's not even true. We've got the sprint shootout tomorrow as well as I want to say first quali sessions. We've also got F1 Academy taking place as well. Which I don't know. I've actually yet to watch an F1 Academy race. Now they're at least on the what do you call it? They're on the F1 TV app. So that's pretty cool. They weren't before. Miami's the worst circuit of the calendar. Why was it chosen ahead of the likes of Silverstone, Abu Dhabi? Sorry, what? Let me read that comment. I have to look at it again. So the reason why is because, and now I totally agree with you. First of all, the reason why is that the leader Pork has become adamant that we kind of follow the real life race schedule a little bit more. I kind of I can see the benefits to it, right? I think when you're in a situation like this, especially we had races in Australia and for China and for Japan as well, where you were actually having the Div 1 race that I was casting, and then the first practice session was starting. I thought that was pretty cool. Weekends like this, um, you could say whatever you want. What I will say is this: these weekends are up for sale, up for sponsorship. I have the not the penultimate round, but the one before that for France, I sponsor that round. It is more money to sponsor a real life round, but I think we had that not all that long ago. I forget what the circuit was, but somebody did do that. So to answer your question, yes, that one was not necessarily chosen. It was just kind of it falls on a real life race weekend, and nobody went and sponsored the race. I do kind of enjoy the sponsorship thing that we have though, because at least at some points we get these tracks that otherwise sometimes people forget about. We haven't raced at Le Castellet since I want to say season 9 or 10, and that was like round 1 or 2 of season 9 or 10. It was a while ago since we actually visited France, so I'm really happy I was able to sponsor that race. And just waiting for session to begin here. It is 9. Who do I message in regards to enter the Gran Turismo League racing in the Discord? You can message Cake Thomas. He is the outright leader behind all of that. He does all the Monday. Although, yeah, he does the Monday LMG or LMP series. He does the Friday Porsche Super Cup, which is very fun. I highly recommend that one. And then he does the Saturday GT3. So definitely get in touch with Cake Thomas or Mango Man, whatever it comes up on as your screen. But I would definitely do that. Also, if you've got nothing going on, you should join the Dirt Rally divisions that I host. Dirt Rally, EAWRC, come on, man, we need drivers, and I'm really hoping that we find some more because it has been a lot of fun being a part of those, and I really hope we get to keep them going. But yeah, get in touch with Cake. He'll get you set up. There's not really many things you need to do. I mean, the races at least are every other week. They used to be every week, but that was kind of unbearable at some points. But I definitely recommend the Porsche Super Cup races because those are all kind of same make. Three kind of I think 3 20-minute races per night of the Porsche Super Cup, and they do a first like 5-minute quali and then they reverse the grid. So everybody really has an opportunity to get in there and win a race. I even won one, and I haven't raced competitively really in anything since season 7 of Midwest F1 was like the last true competition. Also thinking about NASCAR. Well, I tell you what, NASCAR, that was fun when we did do that. That was quite a while ago. I will say this. I'm really hoping that something like that comes back about. We actually did have interest in the NASCAR division not all that long ago. NASCAR, it wasn't as popular. But if you have the interest and you've got some friends that may want to get that going, definitely go for it because I would participate in it if I could. That was a lot of fun. Of course, I wasn't very good at it, but yeah, good times. Still remember our first race of that. We had like, I want to say it was like 25 people in the race, and that was such a like incredibly fun shit show. That one. There's not many times I refer to shit shows as fun. That was one of them. That was incredible. But it looks like we're going to get ready to go here in just a little bit. The grid's starting to ready up. At least some of them. Scornsy being one of them. Nikki64, Caesar. Who'd you say you had tonight? Palmer? Is that what you said? Yeah, it was Palmer. Yeah. Let's see. Let's have a look at Palmer's stats. Palmer's one of those guys I think sometimes, I'm not going to say flies under the radar, but he's always there to the point where he just kind of blends in. He's always in those positions. Palmer did win the second round of the season in Hungary. Won at Singapore at the penultimate round last season as well. It's been a little while since Palmer's actually gone to the top step of the podium, I think. Although what I will say, he did win last week in Brazil. Now that I look at it, the results page hadn't been updated until now. But Palmer on a good run here. That Alpine team looking good, man. He's also leading the standings. Goodness me. Could be the season of Palmer. Hey, no complaints from me. 20 seconds. Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Miami International Autodrome in beautiful Miami, Florida, for the ninth round of the Division One season here in the Midwest Esports League. Hotspot on the call with you once again here on the eve of the first practice sessions for tomorrow's sprint race weekend in real life at the Miami circuit. Miami, one of those tracks where I think it hasn't really been around long enough to give us a good race. I think have your reservations about the circuit. I definitely do. What I will say is this: in virtual world, as we see with a lot of other circuits, it does produce some good racing. There are some obviously not fun parts of the track, that chicane, which I hate with a burning passion, and that first sector does get messy. But what I will say is, it reminds me of a track like Hungary, really, where in real life, absolute stinkers 9 times out of 10, but virtually does provide some brilliant racing. So I'm actually quite excited here tonight. And who else would be excited is that of Palmer, last week's race winner in Brazil and current championship leader. By 15 points over that of Scornsey, 424 to 409. Mackey, 5 race rounds won in a row for Mackey, 355. Chuck Blazin, 287. Race day, 274. Kelly Robb, 269. Nice. VTech, 268. Edwin, 267. Houdini, 261. And Plums, 256. That's your top 10. That is a competitive-ass top 10. I am really looking forward to that. As far as the constructors are concerned, Alpine atop 711. Aston Martin, 615. Williams, 584. Ferrari, 567. McLaren, 492. Alfa Romeo, 487. Mercedes, 471. Haas, 452. AlphaTauri, 427. And Red Bull, 407. Those are your driver and constructor standings. Who is going to be our first driver out on track? It's going to be the Williams driver of Nicky 64. And we'll go ahead and find him here. 19 drivers on the grid. Once again here in Division 1. That is something you love to see. It has to be said, a rather cloudy-looking day this in Miami. I wouldn't be surprised if we could... I mean, I have yet to actually see a virtual race here with a spat of rain, but it has to be said, rain could potentially be on the way. Obviously, Florida weather changes like the flip of a coin, so you never know. Nicky 64 making his way through turn 10 down this very long straight towards the horseshoe section of the track. Turns 11, 12, and 13. He, for the time being, looks as if he's going to be our first driver out on track. Oddly enough, Gott Palmer's chosen the intermediates for the time being. Scavney predictably has gone to the mediums. Travis Scott as well has gone to the mediums, but I think Travis Scott may have had a bit of a slip coming out of the pit lane. Our first driver on track will still be that of Nicky 64. I'm curious to see our straight line speed comparisons here. And, of course, I guess Nicky is given the honors over to Scavney on the medium tires. Scavney, I think, honestly, one of the most clever drivers and smart drivers on the grid at using these times, at least in the early going, to put down some practice laps. Because, again, anytime you pull a setup from time trial or you run in time trial, it's never going to be representative in an actual Grand Prix session. So Scavney, first driver out on track, here he goes. Down the pit straight in towards first corner. A little bit of a bump on the way into the braking zone there. As you can see, it's a very tight right-handed corner on the way in. Through Sector 1 now. This reminds me a lot of how the Vietnam circuit used to be. Very, not necessarily flowing first sector here, but it's like flat raised curbs on the inside. The wall's very narrow, and as you get here towards 6, 7, and 8, the difficult part of the lap is pretty much over. As he exits turn 8 now, he'll have DRS coming out of turn 10 as he's going to go through right now. This is another thing here. Those walls really, really close on the outside. And then round this very long straight in towards the horseshoe section of the track, 11, 12, and 13. We'll check the straight line speed as it makes his way down the backstretch, one of the longest stretches in Formula One, into the worst chicane in Formula One. I've given that moniker to a couple of circuits on calendar, has to be said. The 6 and 7 chicane of Hungary, definitely one of them. The Neuville chicane in Monaco, this one, and previously the one in Spain that has since been gotten rid of. So at least I can rest easy knowing one of them has been taken off the face of the earth. But down the back straight they go. Scavney's going to be pulling 210 mile an hour into the braking zone. Not too bad, although I think he's going to get topped here relatively quickly by Nicky 64, who's on the soft tires, and I would assume probably at a less downforce setup. It's a 129.571 for Scavney. Pretty halfway decent lap. Nicky's immediately gone 129.075. He's gone 0.5 of a second quicker than that of the AlphaTauri driver. Next round the line is the Aston Martin of Well, it's going to be at least one of them. I think it is Scornsy starting a timed lap here. Let's go along with the multi-time champion. Chuck Blazin, 128.152. He had a very interesting one last night in the CCRL League at Hungary. Started at the back of the grid, worked his way up pretty quickly, had to be said, in what was a memorial race for Knick Knack Paddywhack. Scornsy making his way in towards Sector 2 now. Race day 2016, 127.013 will be that of Mackey, who's immediately gone provisional pole here. Remember, Mackey took 5 race rounds in a row. I think tied for third most consecutive race wins. I actually wrote it down here somewhere. I mean, it was such an incredible run for Mackey that I'm a little surprised he didn't carry it on through Brazil. I also think he participated in Brazil as well. We do have Scornsy making his way into the chicane now. It's a very difficult left and right flick there. The car, naturally, you want to have it go over going over the curb, although you go too much and you take some damage, so not necessarily. Scornsy down the back straight now. He'll actually be 3 mile an hour slower than that of Scavney. 207 mile an hour is what he topped out at on the way down the back straight there. But either way, we had that of Mackey working himself in some elite company. Scornsy's gone second, about 2.5 tenths of a second behind the Williams driver. Next up, it looks like is going to be maybe an Alpine here. It's not going to be Palmer. He's still in the pit lane. It may not be Chuck Blazin. Chuck Blazin's actually on his way in. I wasn't completely wrong. Shariah making his way into the pit lane now. Next up behind him will be the Haas of VTEC, who appears to be on low fuel. He'll be on his way in race day as well behind. The Williams of Mackey. The AlphaTauri of, I want to say that's Gunner. Yep, Gunner's on his way in. And it's just a funeral procession of cars on their way into the pit lane here, except for Cali Robb across the line. He's gone 6th, 128.165. Not bad at all. Kind of worked his way. Shariah Coleslaw, what a name. That was, I think, was that his original name that he drove under? I don't actually remember if it was. I've seen some fantastic names in this league. We had a guy for the longest time whose name was Uncle Ben's Rice, and I loved that. There was a couple of good ones that we had. I'm trying to remember what they were. Shariah, definitely one of them. We just had the McLaren. That was Tinel go by. But sometimes they're actually kind of ridiculously kind of difficult to try to pronounce, because we did have a couple of Italians in the league. We had a couple of Frenchmen. I believe we have a couple of the Puerto Rican sort as well. So sometimes you'll get some names that you can't quite know how to put together because you are not cultured enough to understand how to say it. But what is simple enough is that of Tinel. He's making his way through the Horseshoe Complex now. Taking a bit of a shallow line, actually. Sometimes you'll see drivers go a bit wider to try to, exert some more speed. He's gone heavy over that curb there, probably some floor damage. Somehow he's kept the lap going. He is, for all intents and purposes, 31.5 seconds quicker through Sector 2, so that's pretty cool, I guess, for him. Down the back straight he goes, heading into the braking zone. I tell you what, he may be a little bit slower as well. He's 205 into the braking zone. That's one of the slowest top speeds we've seen today. The fastest being that of Scavney, which was 210. Scornsy was 207. And despite being 5 mile an hour slower, 128.162 puts himself that 6th spot. 2 1,000ths of a second ahead of Cali Robb, 10 1,000ths of a second behind Chuck Blazin. Very competitive midfield here. Caesar making his way through the Horseshoe now. If that's accurate, he's 0.2 of a second quicker through Sector 1. He'll be coming up to the Sector 2 line here momentarily. That'll be making his way right there. Yep, 0.2 of a second quicker for Caesar, so that'll put him, well, assuming that he's at a 0.4 of a second improvement now, that'll put him roughly that 4th spot. Let's see if he's got a good enough final sector here to finish that out. Quick reminder of the schedule coming up here. We're, into that halfway part of the season. Next few rounds coming up is this. We've got Circuit Spa-Francorchamps next week. Caesar's only been promoted to 9th, 128.342. Has improved, still a 10th behind Sui for the 8th spot. Spa next week, Imola the week after, Singapore the next 3, and then France, Canada, and Austria to round out the season. Been a little while since Division 1's been to Canada. Good old Midwest homecoming weekend as well, as this league was initially started by, well, Pork is from South Dakota, I know that much, but we did and do still have a bunch of Canadians in this league. Spa is always a great one, let me tell you. There's not many tracks I'm more excited for than Spa. That is always a highlight of the season. Cali Rob making his way to the final corner, and it looks as if he's going to try to complete this lap here. It looks pretty good. Is he able to improve? Well, he does go up to fourth, 127.849. 3/10 of a second the improvement, and leapfrogs his teammate to get onto the second row. Cali Romp, good lap from him. Mackey on an out lap here. Definitely got to watch for him. Race day, former champion. Out on track as well. Making his way to turn 17, 18, and 19. And the lap underway here for race day. 8 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in the session now. Through the first corners, naturally, as you will through this section, you're going to be a little bit hesitant getting on the throttle. It is a section of the track where hitting the throttle too much will send that car spinning. I'm sure you can ask Charles Leclerc that, as you can see these two drivers getting out wide there. There's the infamous Leclerc spin corner. Exits nicely. I think maybe is he taking too much curb. He's a quarter of a second faster either way. That'll put him roughly that second spot. Of course, Mackey and Scornsey on coming up to Flyers here shortly. But Race Day making his way towards the horseshoe now. Mackey is goated, but watch out for Palmer. I tell you what, man. Those are two. Palmer leading the championship as well. Scornsey, I think, what is he, a 5-time champion in Division 1 here? Arguably, and I would say definitely the best driver in Division 1 and Midwest F1 history. And you got Palmer leading him by 15 points right now, and you've got Mackey, who's won 5 out of the last 6 coming into tonight. I tell you what, Palmer's got his work cut out for him, but I definitely trust in his ability to put together a good one. Scavney has lost the car. Where is that? Sorry, that's going through the chicane. That car, I don't even know where it is. He's crashed into the chicane somewhere. 126.768 for race day, and that's a good attempt from him. Mackey making his way through Sector 1 now. Scornsey definitely the best. I would have to agree so, and what's interesting about Scornsey is he hasn't necessarily looked as if he's been the best driver these past couple of seasons. There's been a few guys who have really given him runs for his money, but Scornsey is undoubtedly not only been the quickest driver in Midwest F1 history, he's also been one of the most consistent. He may not win every week, but he's almost a shoo-in for the podium time and time again, and that is a lot more than some of these drivers can say, even those who are towards the top end of the table. Well, Mackey's had a poor exit of the corner there. He's a tenth and a half quicker through Sector 2, but he's rather clobbered the wall on exit of the corner there, making his way down the back straight. I would assume this lap is kind of probably be the end of it. Scornsey kind of dirty with some of the moves he sometimes pulls. I tell you what, I think when you're in a position like Scornsey, when you are defending your title as well, you do have to kind of get a little gutsy. What I will say is that there's more often than not when you're going to have drivers like that who do try to do their best. I think for Scornsey, more or less what it is he's trying his best to kind of stay with it here. Again, really quick driver. Matter of fact, he's on a timer now, it looks. I don't know. I think we all have our moments, some more than others. Scornsey, I will say, I say, yeah, he is one of the cleaner drivers. This guy doesn't make too many mistakes often. Obviously, I haven't really been around Div 1 much this season. I was supposed to be last week because I was actually doing a bit of a school project I couldn't attend. But I tell you what, we all have our moments. Scornsey, I'm sure, has had a few of his. But, I mean, this guy, for the most part, is just a total robot, man. He is not going to make many mistakes. And when he does, they are definitely able to be capitalized on. 127.065 improves by 0.2 of a second, still 0.3 behind that of Race Day provisional pole sitter. I'm a little surprised Race Day has had as good of a lap as he had, or maybe am I more surprised that Mackey hasn't been able to improve anymore, but he's going to be back out on track here in a second. And now we don't race like he used to anymore. He just does it for fun. Let me tell you something. These past couple of games have really, ruined a lot of people's drive to actually be sim racing. I mean, Scornsey, again, one of the quickest drivers I've ever seen, but this these past couple of F1 games have been so difficult to wrap their heads around ever since 22. I mean, this has been a totally different generation of car, a lot more downforce, a lot more. I don't want to say maneuverability, but that car gets out of shape a lot quicker. And for some drivers, that's been a really, really difficult transition. For others, it's been easy. Race Day 2016 was one of the other drivers who kind of found his rhythm with F1 22. Matter of fact, I think that first season of 22, he was the champion of Division 1. And we're going to be getting this new game at the tail end of May. Some drivers do really have the ability to latch onto these new games much better than others. And I'm thinking, is that going to be the case for somebody like Race Day, like Mackie, like, perhaps even could we get, someone like Chuck Blazin in there as well? I mean, so many people. And by the way, everybody here in Division 1 deserves to be here. This is the quickest group of drivers that we do have. But what I will say is this. There are a lot of Division 2 drivers who could also fit that category. The gap between the two divisions is not what it used to be, that's for sure. This is definitely the outright better division, but it's much closer now. So Mackie will most likely have one more timed attempt able to be had here. What we do have now is the Mercedes of, I want to say it's Caesar making his way around here. I'm actually going to go back along. I'm sorry, Caesar. I hate to ignore you. Palmer's on an outlap now. Mackie is about to begin one here. I'm curious to see where he is struggling, because for the time being, a 2.5 of a second deficit for Mackie is slightly unheard of over these past 6 rounds. 2.5 minutes remaining here. Down the pit straight he goes. Not the game is life getting in the way. I tell you what, man, ever since the pandemic really subsided, life has been getting in the way for a lot of people, and I totally understand that. There were times where really we had 7 divisions of drivers, not all full grids, but they were there. So yeah, I mean, that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I tell you what, I really do enjoy being in the eSports side of things here, but I also enjoy having my life back and being able to go out in public. 0.2 of a second quicker through Sector 1. VTech has crashed somewhere. Either that or he's retired in the pit lane. I think he's actually done it in the pit lane. Just over 1 minute and 40 remaining in the session here. Mackie making his way into the horseshoe now, 1:45 to be exact. And let's see. Now again, he's taken a much more shallow apex to that corner. Sometimes we'll be seeing drivers go a bit wider. That's not the case. As it turns out, they're staying low to the inside. He's had a much better exit of that corner than he did on his previous attempt. Matter of fact, he's 0.2 clear through Sector 2. So I tell you what, good looking lap so far here for Mackie. Will he be able to hold on? This is probably going to be his final attempt of the session. Into turn 17 now. Oh, and he's hit the wall on the outside. And that will be it for Mackie. And I tell you what, the displeasure probably on himself. I definitely understand. He had a great lap going, and he's just clobbered the wall exiting turn 17. It's a difficult corner to get right, because if you hit the throttle too much, you get the oversteer and spin. But if you don't hit it enough, you really don't get the rotation on the car to get it round and not hit the wall. And that's kind of what's happened to Mackie there. Scornsey making his way down the backstretch now. Palmer's on a timed lap, 0.6 of a second quicker through Sector 1. That already in itself is enough to kind of project to put him on pole. He's got this toe here from his teammate of Chuck Blazin around the outside. You love to see the toe in play. Down the straight in towards the horseshoe complex. Palmer looking like he's on a brilliant one here. Mind you, has a 15-point lead in the championship coming into today over that of Scornsey in second. Through the chicane now. He's taking it pretty cleanly. Still a lot of drivers taking as much of the apex curve as they can, which worries me. 7.5 of a second quicker for Palmer. This is looking to be one of the best Miami laps I've ever seen. Has to be said. I mean, this is getting ridiculous here. Let's hope he can hold it together. So Race Day's done all he can do. He has not been able to put together another one. Palmer, I think, maybe have made slightly a hash of that 17th corner. Gone a little slow, perhaps. Around the line comes Palmer. What does he have? 1:26.620. So he's improved by 7.5 of a second. Gets Race Day by about a 10.5 there. Scornsey making his way down towards the horseshoe now. A 10th quicker through Sector 1. Next across the line looks like one of the Mercedes drivers. It's going to be that of Caesar. Behind him, the Ferrari of Cali Rob. So Caesar's crossed the line, has stayed 12th. Callie Robb has actually gone fifth, 127.079, improves by nearly 8/10 of a second. Very good there for Callie Robb. Next on the line is the Aston Martin of Swee. He's gone 10th. Remember the pair of the Aston Martin brothers here, as Skornsy and Swee currently 4th and 10th. Next on the line was the Red Bull of, I want to say, Shariah. He's gone 14th. Cynical's on his way in. Just Tanel, Nikki, and Skornsy left here for time to temps. But Tanel coming around the line now. He's gone 3rd. Wow, good result so far for the McLarens, but across the line goes Skornsy, only 4th fastest, 126.931, improves. But I tell you what, it's a second row for Skornsy, and he's got the pair of McLarens in his way, and we've just had, I want to say that was Nikki 64 retiring into the pit lane, but what it is, it's a pole position for Gott Palmer, half a second separating the top 6 here. Palmer, a lap that, not necessarily came out of nowhere, but the amount of improvements that he did show in that final attempt, something to be reckoned with. Palmer, the championship leader, on pole position. Race Day and Tanel, the pair of McLaren, 2nd and 3rd. Great result from them. Skornsy 4th, Mackey 5th. A little bit of an odd result there for Mackey, a little bit further back than I would have expected. It's a half a second separating the top 6 as Callie Robb occupies the spot. Chuck Blazin 7th, Edwin 8th, VTech 9th, Plums 10th, 11th is Sweet, 12th Travis Scott, 13th Nikki, 14th Caesar, 15th Shariah Scavney, 16th, 17th Cynical, 18th is Gunner, and rounding out the grid without a time is that of Houdini. So, very competitive top 6, even more competitive midfield. Miami is, again, not a great track in real life, but virtually it does put on some great races, and I kind of expect another one like that here tonight. And it's a rather bright and sunny day here in Miami. It's good news. Seems like since this latest generation of cars, we do celebrate the dry races more than the wet ones. I think with DRS having the amount of impact that it does have on the grid nowadays, you do hope for the dry races. You do hope for the overtakes to be made. And, well, we've got a dry one here. Once again, Spa coming up next week, and I believe I said Imola the week after. A couple of great races coming up here. Yep, Belgium, Imola, and Singapore, the next 3. Say, well, I am really excited for the Imola round as well. There's a lot of times where we get some great races in Imola. I like a track where you can actually, you have to work for the overtakes being given to you. I say this track is good in the game Miami because we do get a lot of overtakes. They are easy overtakes a lot of the time. Sometimes you do have to work for them, I'll be honest. That left-hander in a turn 11, that sets up some great racing throughout the horseshoe and into the chicane, despite how poor the chicane is. Oh, my dual shit controller has decided it doesn't want any battery anymore. But in a track like Imola, very old school style circuit, you have to work for every single move and every opportunity that's been presented to you, and that is something that I love to see on a grid, and that's something we've seen time and time again. Spa, well, that one goes without saying how much of a crapshoot that could be, how much of it will be, and perhaps weather being involved as well. So hey, if you've got yourself a race prediction now, other than the fans of Palmer, which we had earlier, and Skornsy that as well, if you've got any other predictions, why don't you put them in the comments now? Go ahead and like and subscribe, or don't. I'm not going to force you to, but that'd be nice. Anyways, formation lap on the way here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the tire strategy for this evening. And, well, I tell you what, I'm actually a little surprised we don't have that many drivers on the hard tires. Only 6 of them have gone hard here. The rest of them are on the mediums. Controversially, though, the top 4 all on the hard tires. Palmer, Race Day, and Tennell. Now, that's going to be interesting between the 2 McLarens being on similar strategy. Scornsey on the hards as well. The other 2. Also the pair of the Aston Martins. Scornsey and his brother Swee also on the hard tires, and Caesar the only other driver on those hards. Everybody else has chosen the mediums. That would tell me that we don't necessarily expect safety car here, although if there is one, they will be prepared. So Mackey starting 5th here, has won 5 out of the last 6 rounds. 5 of which in a row, by the way. He's kind of on the outside looking in. He's the starting on the 3rd row of the grid with 2 McLarens, a 5-time former champion, and got Palmer ahead of him. That's not a knock on Palmer. Tell you what, he could very well win the championship this year if he keeps it up. But Mackey's got a lot of competition ahead of him. But if there's anyone I trust to dice through the field as well, it's got to be him, hasn't it? Although, in fairness, we haven't really seen him try to work his way through the field all that much when he's won these races. He's won them quite convincingly. So, interesting situation for Mackey. Will he be able to defend and attack where needed? That's a good question. Callie Robbs had a great performance here in qualifying, as well as Chuck Blazin. Question's going to be Tennell here. He's put in a very good final qualifying attempt. Whether or not that translates into race pace is going to be my question here. I will say, I have not watched a lot of Tennell's races. I'm very unfamiliar. And where I have unfamiliarity with a driver, I do sometimes have doubt. That's not a knock on him. That's just because I don't know what he's capable of doing. Whether or not he's able to stay on the podium here is going to be the question at hand. But they're in Division 1 for a reason, and often in Division 1 it is a case of sink or swim. And, well, he appears to be swimming just fine now, as we do have Houdini, final driver on the grid, about to get back to the line here, and we can get underway in Miami, around the Hard Rock Stadium, home of the Miami Dolphins. And here we go. Lights about to be turning on here in Miami for the 9th round of the season. 3, 4, and eventually 5. And Division 1 is underway. I think Palmer's gotten a halfway decent start. He's definitely gotten away better than Race Day. Race Day spun those tires massively off the line. Tennell, his teammate, looks around the outside. Got Palmer as unchallenged through the first corner. Everybody else behind, 2 by 2 as they file through. Callie Robb and the Ferraris actually had to cut the second corner of the track there. Maybe got in a little bit of a scuffle with somebody and was pushed wide. Either that or he's trying to play careful, but he's side by side with Chuck Blazin now. Will get around the Alpine for the time being to maintain the 6th spot he started with. Cynical off at the back, Scavney off at the back. Cynical has lost the entirety of his front wing. That will bring out the virtual safety car here early. So it looks as if not a lot of significant moving off the start. Caesar up 3. Everybody else only up 1 or 2. Gunners up 2. Houdini up 1 after Cynical's accident there. I'm not quite sure. We didn't get a look at what had happened, but Palmer has gotten away well. He's been able to keep the spot ahead of Race Day. Scornsey, I think, whilst I wasn't looking, was actually able to overtake Tennell now. Tennell got a much better start off the line over his teammate of Race Day. Race Day with a noticeably bad start. And as we get back to green flag racing here, Palmer with a 0.8 of a second advantage already as they make their way down the backstretch. Here's Mackey along the right-hand side of Tennell here, side by side. Medium tires for the Williams driver will surely be one to look out for. Oh, he's going to try to outbrake and perhaps get Scornsey round the outside. Is he able to have it? No, not quite. And I think it may have even been Race Day getting into the wall there on the outside. It was either that or a lockup, and we now have Callie Robb off again. Virtual safety car once more as yet another front wing is shed. And Callie Robb, well, I'm not entirely sure if he can get to the pit lane safely enough here. I think he might be able to. Yeah, he'll have to kind of get across the circuit, but into the pit lane goes Callie Robb. About 10 meters down the road, and he would not have been able to do that. So that's pretty good. Cynical has retired in the pit lane. The safety car now out on track for some reason. Not really sure why the safety car has decided to deploy. Callie Robb's front wing was kind of off the racing surface. So a bit of an odd decision that, but the first safety car of the day here in Miami. Still a bit too early, I would say. to actually seriously consider going on to any other sort of tires. I think realistically here, if you're on the medium still, you're not thinking about stopping at this point, because even if you do go to the hards, you're just not going to have the opportunity to really have them be at any sort of advantage for making that early stop. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is going to be a quick safety car here. Cali Robb has... Well, maybe did Cynical lose his front wing? Or maybe did he hit some sort of other wall again and maybe picked up side pod damage? I'm, again, not sure why that safety car has decided to come out. It had been upgraded from the virtual safety car after Cali Robb lost the front wing, but he's back out on track now. Palmer leads. Palmer on the hards, and, well, I'm going to assume he's going to stay out here as well as everybody else at the top, as 4 out of the top 5. Mackey stayed out. And that would pretty much tell me that the masses will be staying out on track here, and we should have the safety car in potentially next time by, assuming Cali Robb can catch the safety car in time. That would be the question at hand. And look at this. We've got drivers locking up here as Palmer tries to file in behind the safety car. Nearly some collisions happening there. A little bit odd. A little bit odd. That is not actually even like the weirdest thing I would have seen. I saw in a race at Las Vegas not all that long ago in the Jag League that I commentate. The safety car had decided to come in, but it missed the entry to the pit lane, and it stayed out another lap. Like, the track had gone green, but the safety car was still out there. Matter of fact, one of the most recent races I casted was with the CCRL. We were in Baku, and a car's tire just miraculously decided to fly off the car in DNF. I don't even know how that happened. I'm assuming some desync between me and him, but either way. Looks as if Houdini has decided to stop here as well. Yep, he's come in. So Cali, Robb, and Houdini making their way back to the queue here. It looks as if they're going to get themselves back to the queue before the safety car gets to the Sector 3 timing line. That's pretty much where it decides if it's going to come in at the end of the lap, I assume. We've got everybody close enough to make that a legitimate factor. Let's see. Yes, thankfully the safety car does decide to come in this time by. So a quick safety car. Palmer leads race day, who leads Scornsy. Mackey has gotten the spot over Tennell, who Tennell, again, a little odd where he's fallen back this far. Had a great start and had gotten overtaken from Scornsy. Mackey made a genuine overtake on the McLaren. I think with the medium tires it was always going to be that way, but Tennell's fallen back to 5th. Biggest mover of the race so far does belong to Caesar, up 3 spots, but only really half a lap of true racing we've had so far. But that's going to change here. As to the green flag goes Palmer. All over the back of him is that of Race Day. The former champion trying to look down to the inside now as they make their way to the first corner. Mackey trying to look to the inside of Scornsy as well. He'll take the 3rd spot, but the leaders side by side now. Race Day sneaks to the inside line, going through turn 2. It's a brilliant move there. And we've got a yellow flag at the back of again, it's the Williams of Nicky 64 who's gone around there, but Race Day has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. And Nicky, it doesn't appear, has hit anything significantly, and the track stays green. Exiting the corner there, Race Day's gotten away well, but Mackey has gotten away much better than that of Palmer, down to the inside, and Mackey looks as if he's going to take that 2nd spot, but he may have to work for this one at Race Day here. He's not got a lot of track position to actually show up and make that move happen, and smartfully is not going to take it this time. Oh, Tennell has gotten into the side of Chuck Blazin there. He's either overshot the braking zone, or there was perhaps some sort of mischievous activity happening there. Caesar and VTEC side by side on the way into the chicane, though. This is only going to end great, and it looks as if Caesar has actually been able to defend the position through the chicane. VTEC could potentially have Sui in a position. No, he doesn't. So down the back straight they go now. Mackey's going to have to make something happen here. 0.3 of a second, no DRS yet, as it looks as if Mackey's just going to fall in behind for the time being as they now make their way. Oh, and Tennell's gone way deep in the corner. I think maybe as he collided with Chuck Blazin again, because those two have now lost 2 additional positions, and Chuck Blazin really losing spots here. Yeah, I think something has happened between Tunnel and Chuck Blaze, and those two have collided at least twice on that previous lap of the race. And, well, if the stewards have anything to say about that, we'll know what happened. And it looks like it will be the hard tires on for Chuck Blazin. As far as Tunnel is concerned, I believe are those mediums. Yes, they are. Back to the top of the grid. Race Day leads Mackey by 0.3 of a second, but Mackey is closing, and he's closing fast. Let's see, do the Williams driver have anything here following in behind the slipstream of the McLaren here? Got to look to the right side. Oh, and Race Day, I think, has defended that line just well enough to not afford Mackey the room round the outside heading towards turn 11. And Mackey will stay behind for the time being. Swede checks to the inside of VTEC. Nothing there. Travis Scott and Shariah Coleslaw side by side. Maybe some contact there. Travis Scott gets down the inside and is able to make the move happen behind now. Scavney and Callie Robb were nearly side by side going through the horseshoe. And now down the back straight they go. Race Day leads Mackey by 3/4 of a second here. Palmer is in behind, but Palmer not looking as if he's necessarily got the pace to improve and perhaps get that spot back from the Williams driver. Scornsy's following in behind this as well. It's been a relatively quiet day so far from Scornsy. Started fourth, still fourth. Mackey with the fastest lap now down to the left side is that of Swee. He'll have to pull it round the outside here of VTEC. VTEC's had a bit of a calamitous couple of laps here, although improving 3 positions. Swee, does he try the outside? No, he'll try to switch back down to the inside, but it won't happen. VTEC holds 6th. Now the battle for the lead still. Mackey within 0.2 of a second of Race Day as they make their way towards. Coming up towards Sector 2 here, really close to the back end there of Race Day. As they exit the corner, DRS will be activated this time by Mackey will have it, but he may even have Race Day before DRS gets activated. Yes, he does. Mackey has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. Race Day has defended really well, and I tell you what, he is still in position to look and maybe still hold on to the back end of Mackey. Swee and VTEC side by side, and Swee will get down to the inside on the Haas driver here. Plums is actually trying to make something happen. Maybe going to try around the outside of the horseshoe. Either that or he's going to leave the door wide open for Caesar on the bottom line. And, well, he's filed back in. So Swee stays 6th, VTEC 7th, Plums 8th, and Caesar 9th. Down the back stretch they go. Doesn't appear any of the leaders are going to make a serious move here, although Palmer closing in on Race Day, but not close enough to make anything happen for the time being. Race Day has actually done well to stay in contention of Mackey here. 0.5 of a second between himself and Mackey, and then also 5 behind to Palmer, who's got 3.5 behind to Scornsy. Edwin has actually kind of fallen off the pace a little bit here, but Swede not all that much better off. Matter of fact, VTEC and Plums were side by side there not all that long ago. And it looks as if does Plums have anything to the inside? He's certainly going to try for it. Bit of an unorthodox place to make something happen into this first corner. And Plums is going to try to hold it on that right line versus VTEC, and he's got it. So making their way through turns 6, 7, and 8 now. Mackey leads Race Day by a second. I don't think, no, it doesn't appear that Race Day is going to have DRS this time by. Palmer will file in behind the McLaren. DRS activated for the Alpine in question. He will have the inside line, and I think he's going to have that move. Oh, maybe not. Into the braking zone they go. They're going to be side by side for the second spot, but Palmer will have more acceleration around the outside and back up to second for the Alpine. Race Day relegated to 3rd, Scornsy to 4th. This is a thing that we've seen Scornsy do more and more. He's really trying to be patient and make these overtakes, let them come to him instead of going out and taking them. It's a risky game to play, but Scornsy does it well. A lot of oversteer now from some of these drivers on the medium tires. We were along with Plums and VTEC simultaneously getting the back end way around from them. They've held on. Caesar now to the inside of VTEC, and it looks as if that one's going to be easy does it for the Mercedes. Next driver in line is that of the Plums, who's trying to close down on Swee. Swee's got 3.5 seconds behind Edwin, and Edwin's got 4.5 behind Scornsy. So the top 4 really in a class of their own at the moment. Look a little bit further behind. Shariah may have something on Travis Scott here. It was less than 1/10.5 not all that long ago, but it does appear that that battle has subsided for the time being. Back up to the battle for the top 4 now. Race Day could have a look at Palmer here relatively closely. I think if you're without DRS, you're really in a world of trouble as Palmer, outside of a second on Mackey. He won't have DRS back to the Williams, unless did he just get away with it? No, he doesn't. Race Day does not have enough track room here to try to close down on Palmer. He'll stay third, Scornsey fourth. You see the dust starting to fly up there. It's either dust or some lockups ahead. Either or. Cali Robb now down to the inside on VTEC, and it looks as if that one's going to be made, although... Yeah, Cali Robb has only just outbraked the Haas there, and will take that 9th spot. We do have Caesar trying to close down on the Plums ahead. Sui is still in this battle, and Sui, for the time being, has been able to improve 5 positions and also hold off the Plums from behind. I think maybe a Sui getting a little bit better on acceleration. That may be the difference between those two. Sui's going to try to pull the toe down to the inside, and it doesn't look as if there's going to be any serious challenges from behind. We'll go back up to Scornsey, who's 2.5 tenths of a second behind Race Day for the 3rd spot. Race Day, despite not having that good of a start to the Grand Prix, has actually held on to position quite well here. His teammate of Tennell, you could not say the same. And it looks as if we do have Cali Robb and Caesar battling it out there. The Ferrari's gotten down the inside of the Mercedes in through the first corner. But as they snake their way through Sector 1, exiting Turn 8 now, Mackey leads by just over a second. Race Day not all that far behind. Oh, did Scornsey hit the wall there coming out of Turn 8? It certainly looked as if he did. But going through Turn 10, DRS activated for the Aston Martin here. I think if he doesn't get it, it'll because Race Day has DRS to Palmer ahead, and that certainly looks as if it's the case. The pair of the Ferraris now have some thinking to do. Which one of them is the faster driver? I would argue it is going to be that of Cali Robb, who's on the hard tires now. Caesar watches as the pair of the Maranello drivers ahead make their way, and it looks as if they have swapped positions very nicely. That's going to help Cali Robb quicker on those hard tires for the time being. Plums is going to do a nice job in trying to hold up Caesar here and give his teammates some breathing room. But now, Cali Robb, I think, can feel free to attack Sui ahead for the 6th spot. Sui, who I want to say really had kind of a disappointing qualifying session, but here's his teammate and brother down to the inside of Race Day. Scornsey in through 17, and he's made that move happen, and he'll hold on to it as well. Very nicely done. Cali Robb to the inside of Sui, makes it happen for the time being on exit of the corner. Cali Robb does get close to the outside wall, but no sort of brushes with the barrier there. Sui now in pursuit, trying to find some sort of move around Cali Robb here. It's not going to happen. I tell you what, I haven't eaten in quite a while. I could go for an Italian sandwich right now, and that is what Sui is in the middle of right now, because he's got Cali Robb ahead and Plums behind for the time being. I tell you what, Mackey was only about 8 tenths of a second ahead of Palmer not all that long ago. I think Mackey may just be getting away better through that first sector. I think there's the move. Yes, Sui has gotten around Cali Robb. As now Race Day down to the inside will get Scornsey, but deep into the braking zone goes Race Day. He'll go off track, and Scornsey will get it back into the horseshoe. Going to be side by side here, 2 by 2 as they file their way in. Plums on Sui, Caesar on Cali Robb here. As now they make their way through the horseshoe. NASCAR has nothing on Division 1. As side by side they all go, and now up through the chicane. Oh, this is going to get messy here. And somehow Plums, I tell you what, Plums has made that move through the chicane. How has he done that? And now as they make their way down the backstretch, I mean, this is a brilliant battle going on here for what is that 6th spot. Does the Plums have the challenge from Sui to the inside? Yes, he does. And now does Caesar try to sneak in behind as well? Oh, I tell you what, if Sui wasn't in the braking zone there, Caesar may have gotten that move. There's contact to the Aston Martin behind. And he'll just miss out on getting the Plums as well. Cali Robb has remained relatively unfazed in that battle, has not made up any positions. Caesar looks as Sui and Plums battle ahead for the 6th spot. Caesar files in behind. He's being a little held up here. Will sneak to the inside. Bottoms out on the curb. That will allow Cali Robb to try to find some room around the left side. This one could get risky. And Cali Robb will do the smart thing here and back out of the maneuver for the time being, but he'll have DRS going down the straight coming out of turn 10. Kind of pushes to the outside there was Cali Robb. Maybe some tire wear struggles early here for the Ferrari driver. We'll check back with that in a minute. Scornsy, Palmer, and Rayste all within half a second here. Meanwhile, Mackey has gotten out to a 1.5-second advantage. As through the chicane they go, Palmer leads only just and only for now. I would argue Palmer the quickest out of these three cars, but he will not have DRS to Mackey ahead. Callie, Robin, Caesar getting the moves made there through the horseshoe will go back to the battle for the second spot. As Scornsy pokes his head down underneath, Rayste will do the same. No real looks for overtakes from any three of them. Although Scornsy down to the inside now, I'd say what Palmer may have had a hash of 17 there on exit. Scornsy's got that left-hand side. Rayste watches on and hopes for a mistake, and Scornsy round the outside before they get to turn one. Rayste tries to dive underneath, and Rayste will get that spot. It wasn't the cleanest of moves. Oh, but we've got a yellow flag, and it's Caesar on the way out of 17. Thankfully, he's relatively off the circuit there into the paint, and the track stays green. And I'm not sure, maybe did he have help from either the Plums or Sui there, perhaps. Those three were really battling for the longest of time, so maybe did something happen. Travis Scott into the pit lane here, perhaps a wing change for Travis Scott. Nope, strategical only. Hard tires on, and that's the first driver of the day we've truly seen go from the mediums to the hards. Palmer around the outside will get race day before they get to the turn 11. Over the chicane they go, and these three drivers definitely more spread out than what they were not all that long ago. Edwin, despite maintaining the gap to Sui, is losing time to Rayste, now almost 10 seconds behind the top four. Sui's actually, I think, just managed to get around the Plums there somehow. Tanel under pressure from Callie Robb. Out of 16 they go, down the backstretch now, as the top four make their way down the pit straight once again. No real overtakes looking to be made there. Down the back straight they go. Plums is not close enough to Sui to make anything happen. Tanel is able to defend from Callie Robb. Oh, but Scavney's gone way deep into the braking zone. And I tell you what, he's done his best Lewis Hamilton at Azerbaijan impression there. He's gone well deep into the braking zone, hasn't he? I'm not really sure what the error was with that, but it was a massive one. Has come back out on track in the 13th spot, filed in behind his teammate, and then Nikki 64, as well as the Red Bull Shariah Coleslaw. Shariah's had a relatively quiet day, I'll say. Despite being up 5 positions, usually if it's other drivers making mistakes around you, that's when I call it quiet, and I think Shariah kind of falls into that category. Gunner up 7 as well. But hey, positions are positions, and I tell you what, they're in a position right now to have a good race. Tanel now 0.3 of a second behind the Plums. We'll take a look at the tires really quick. We can assume that we're going to see these medium tire drivers in here very shortly, within the next 4, maybe 5 laps, the absolute most. Gunner gets down to the inside of Shariah as well as Nikki, and Nikki backs off. He'll be side by side with Shariah here in through the horseshoe. Nikki around the outside will have the inside line in towards the beginning of the chicane here, as Nikki will get ahead of the Red Bull in question by the time they do file into the chicane. As they make their way now down the backstretch, we do have a good-looking battle going on up ahead. Tanel to the right side of the Plums. Callie Robb in behind, but he's not close enough. Tanel with a great run here. I'll tell you what, nearly almost able to have a look at Sui as well. Edwin, the second driver other than Travis Scott, to make a strategical pit stop here from the medium tires. Nicky's gotten down to the inside of Gunner, has taken or kept the 10th spot. The pair of AlphaTauris now battling behind, as Edwin will make his way down to the pit lane. Predictably hard tires, and Tanel has retired. And he is, I don't even know how he's done that. I think maybe as he hit the inside barrier going down the pit straight. That is a very odd place to make an error. Safety car out on track, as you can see. And I don't have any idea how Tanel has gotten that one wrong. That was either a huge error or he's had help from behind. And unfortunately, a day that's gone from bad to worse here for Tanel after starting so promisingly on that 3rd spot, getting around his teammate initially. And unfortunately, all for naught. So we start with 19. We're down to 17. As the safety car on track for the second time. So the question is now, obviously I think we're going to see these drivers still in the mediums go to the hards. Do we see the drivers on the hards go to the mediums? Are they close enough to the pit window to make that happen? Predictably, Mackey on the way in. Scornsy comes in as well. Oh, Scornsy's in a bit hot. Somehow he's kept that one under the speed limit. That one got close. So let's see here. What does Scornsy decide to do? It'll be medium tires for Scornsy, predictably. Race day to the mediums as well. Got Palmer onto the mediums as well. Chuck Blazin, a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car. He picked up 2 of those infringements in yesterday's race in CCRL. And so Mackey comes out ahead, now on the hard tires, and has to say, might be at a disadvantage here with Scornsy, Palmer, and Race Day all on the mediums behind him. Cali Robb, interestingly, stays out, goes to 5th. Nicky Pitts here is a set of hard tires. Gunner on the way in goes to the hards as well. Scavney boxed in behind his teammate there, although it's going to be soft tires for Scavney here. And so, Mackey leads the Grand Prix for a little bit longer. But, I tell you what, once we get back to green here, he is going to have one hell of a task. Because he's got 3 very rapid drivers behind him, all on the mediums. So safety car, I would assume, will stay out for at least another lap or 2 here. We do have halfway through the Grand Prix. Been a very interesting race so far. We've had a lot of moves being made to safety car, at least 2 virtual safety car, one of which being upgraded to the first safety car. All we're missing now is a mannequin falling onto the track. If you don't know what I'm talking about there, we had the IndyCar race not all that long ago, in which a mannequin fell from an overhead catwalk onto the track. So the safety car leads the grid through turns 9 and 10 now, just waiting for Travis Scott and Chuck Blazin to make their way. Chuck Blazin will still have that drive-through penalty, which you are unable to serve under safety car conditions. Here's a look at the tires. About an even split here between those are medium and those are hard. And it looks as if, again, Scornsy, Palmer, and Raceday all in the medium tires while Mackey remains hard here. That's going to be an interesting chore for Mackey to try to undertake. The bottom, 7 drivers there on the on the medium tires, minus that of Scavney, Houdini, Caesar, Visa, Cash App, VTEC, Travis Scott, and Blazin. That's a lot of words for 4 drivers, man. How VTEC's name fits on that little bar that his name resides on, it puzzles me. I think we are just waiting for Chuck Blazin to catch back up here. I'm assuming safety car will at least wait. Yep, there it is. Safety car in at the end of this lap. Mackey has a very difficult task ahead of him. Cali Robb, more the same. He stayed out on track, 14-lap-old hard tires. He may just be the sitting duck in the equation here. But Mackey will lead the grid back to green. He's not necessarily led this race from start to finish, but it certainly seemed that way. I mean, this guy on record-setting pace for wins here in Division 1. And he'll wait till probably absolutely the last minute there. Scornsy's actually gotten a great reaction time and actually stays quite with him here. Down to the first corner they go. Race Day will look round the outside of Palmer. Through the first corner, has to go deep in and won't quite get that move made, but very good job from Race Day. Nearly had a good one as they make their way through Sector 1 now. Scornsy still looks on, hoping that perhaps does Mackie make a mistake, or perhaps does he get a good opportunity here? I mean, I don't really know, but as we do see Edwin and Callie Robb side by side now. As Edwin, who has relatively stayed behind the top four in the proceedings here, has been at the very least able to hold his position. Now, Scornsy on position. Does he find the outside of Mackie here going in towards the horseshoe? He'll try the switch back to the outside. Not quite close enough. Scornsy, good effort, better defending from Mackie. Side by side as Swee and Callie Robb here as through the horseshoe they go and in towards the chicane. Hardly any contact being made there in what is a very narrow section of the track. That speaks to the quality of the grid here in Division 1. Now, does Palmer try something on Scornsy here? Scornsy goes from attacking to now defending. As, oh, look at this. Scornsy down to the inside. He may have the way into the braking zone. Yes, he does. It's going to depend on now if Mackie can get a good enough run around the outside. Palmer in this as well. The top three cars in the championship also now battling for the top three spots of the race here. Down the pit straight they go. Second in the championship, leads third, and leads first in the championship here as through the first corner, Scornsy takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Palmer almost finds a move around Mackie, but doesn't quite get there. Race Day in this battle as well. Don't you count him out. A little bit further behind, 0.4 of a second, but he's still right there. Shariah, Nikki, Callie, Robb, the Plums, Scavney, all within a couple of tenths of each other here. So much happening here in Division 1. Scornsy may have... Did he hit the wall there coming out of turn 10? He got really close down to the inside, trying to take as much of the track as he can. There goes Mackie around the outside. Palmer looking for it as well. Scornsy defends the inside. Mackie has the outside. Palmer will follow suit, and it looks as if Scornsy will lose at least 2 spots here, potentially 3, as Race Day tries to squeeze his way down to the inside. To no avail, but Race Day right there as well. And Mackie, the lone driver on the hard tires in the top 4, now has himself in a position he'll have to defend once more. And oh, by the way, Edwin starting to peek his way into this battle as well as the top 4 battle. That's allowing Edwin into the door. Down the back straight they go. Does Palmer have anything? He's going to try to check the inside. He's going to have a little bit of a peek there, but he's not going to have enough room to make something happen. DRS will be activated this next time by. They'll have it coming out of turn 8. DRS enabled now. Edwin the fastest lap, so he's really closing in on the 4 drivers ahead, 0.8 of a second. Oh, by the way, that gap before the safety car had come out was in surplus of nearly 10 seconds. We do have Callie, Robb, and Scavney side by side here. Scavney down to the inside on the soft tires as well. Odd choice to go to the softs under safety car, but that's what he's done. Callie Robb has tried to go the long way with his hard tires. I'm afraid that's a gamble. That's his come up on the... he's bet on red. Or sorry, no, he's bet on black. It's come up red there, I'm afraid. So 1/10 and a half now. Palmer's going to try the outside. He does have DRS. This should be a move be made here for Palmer. Yes, it is. Scornsy follows in behind. Mackie does not defend that outside line as much as I think Scornsy was expecting him to. He follows in behind the Williams anyways. Race Day in this position as well. Edwin has actually fallen back quite considerably here, now outside of 2 seconds, nearly 2.5 seconds from a battle he was only half a second outside of not all that long ago. As now down the back straight they go. Palmer leads. No DRS for the Alpine here. He'll have to defend from the most winningest driver of Season 12 so far. Down the back straight he goes. Not quite there. Scornsy follows in and is still playing this one a little safer. 10 laps to go this time by. Down the pit straight they go. As they file in, we have a yellow flag at the back. Gunner has gone round. And if a front wing is missing, that could be cause for an additional virtual safety car. We can't quite see. The game's not giving us a good camera angle, no. 5-car gaggle here into the first quarter. Sorry, 4 cars. As Travis Scott leads VTech, leads Caesar, leads Cali Rob. But I tell you what, some great battles happening up and down this grid. Exiting turn 8 now, going to pick up DRS here in a moment. Mackey gets a good exit out of the complex there at the end of Sector 1, and now looks like he may have the advantage to try to find a way around Palmer. Palmer will defend the outside line. Mackey's going to swoop to the inside and won't quite have the room. Race Day dives to the inside. Does he get Scornsy? Still around the outside. Does he have the traction and the acceleration on the outside of the horseshoe? Yes, he does. And Race Day battles his way into the third spot as they make their way to the chicane. Scornsy now was on the precipice of keeping the lead of the Grand Prix, has now fallen back to 4th. As the championship leader maintains his lead of the Grand Prix, Mackey has taken 2nd, Race Day 3rd. Scornsy falls to 4th. No significant move here from Mackey as they make their way down. He may have to wait towards the first corner, although, again, not very many moves be made into that first corner. Scavney getting down the inside of Nicky. I tell you what, those soft tires are holding on quite well for the time being. I'm a little surprised. Mackey does not have anything into the first corner here. We'll have to wait for DRS to be available next time. Shariah 0.2 of a second behind Nicky here. Down the pit straight they go. As Nicky's going to try to look to the inside of Scavney here. Not quite. Definitely having the look here. Battles happening up and down this grid. Race Day, since overtaking Scornsy for the 3rd spot, has fallen behind nearly 9.5 of a second here. Back from the top 2, he will have DRS. As Mackey now looks to close in on Palmer. It's been great defending from Palmer so far. We'll open the telemetry just to have a look at the energy store that they have. They're both hanging around 30%. Palmer's used it slightly more than that of Mackey, but not noticeably enough. Nicky and Scavney trading positions now. Nicky down to the inside of the Alpha Tauri, in towards the braking zone at turn 11. Nicely done for Nicky, up to 8th for him. Take a look at the positions gained now. Scavney still up 7 spots, Houdini up 8. Down the back straight they go. Mackey looks to the inside. Will he be able to have something into the braking zone? No, he's decided against it there. Race Day's been able to close that gap back to about 0.4 of a second at what was nearly outside of a second not all that long ago. He's clawed back very nicely, has the McLaren driver. Scornsy, has to be said, is slightly falling behind this battle here as the top 3 make their way into the first corner. Scornsy not really involved in this battle. Of course, he's only half a second behind, but that's a lot when the 3 cars ahead of you are all within 1/10 of each other. We'll go along with Caesar and VTech now side by side and through the first corner. VTech around the outside, and he's able to hold on. Good overtake there from VTech. Again, not all that many moves made into that first corner. Matter of fact, the last person I saw that to try to do that in real life was Mick Schumacher, and he crashed into Sebastian Vettel. Anyways, with DRS now, Mackey will now have the inside and a much better run, but look at Race Day down to the inside, and a double overtake for the lead of the Grand Prix. Oh, but he's gone off track, and he gets back on track, still side by side with Mackey. Now that's an interesting call to be had. Could that be classified as Race Day leaving the track and gaining an advantage? He's gone well deep into the braking zone to overtake both Mackey and Palmer, but he has gone, I think, all 4 tires off the circuit there. And if that's the case, that could be warranted for a penalty if he does end up staying ahead of these 2 drivers. I'm just going to look back in the clip there. Travis Scott, 3-second penalty for him into the braking zone. Yeah, he's gone well off the track there. That could very well be a penalty for the McLaren if he does hold on to that spot. To the inside now is Mackey. In towards turn 1. Running out of time in this Grand Prix, but we're not running out of overtakes. And I tell you what, any one of these top 4 could theoretically land on the top step of the podium here. Palmer to the inside of Race Day. Kind of get a little squirrely there going through turn 2. Has had to back off. Scornsy now in a position where he could find himself in the battle amongst the leaders here. Again, these past couple of laps, he was kind of on the outside looking in. Not the case anymore. Exiting turn 8. Race Day 0.6 of a second behind Mackey. 6 laps to go, next time by. Palmer in pursuit. I tell you what, Race Day is actually starting to fall behind that of Mackey. He's really not pressuring that Williams driver very much. Palmer way down to the inside. bit of a slide on the back end, and Palmer nearly had to look for an overtake there, but to no avail. Stays third. As they make their way through the chicane here, we got some moves happening toward the back. Scavany gets around the inside of Shariah Coleslaw. VTech and Caesar side by side. That one won by the Mercedes driver in question. Down the back straight they go, and race day will not have DRS to the back end of Mackey. Palmer will have this move, and that's going to be an easy one there for Palmer. And now the championship leader could find his way to the battle for the win here, but he's got a second and a half to do so. And I'm thinking, are we seeing the point now in which those medium tires starting to cross over to being worse than those hards? That could absolutely be the case. They raced so hard on those mediums for the longest of times, and I'm thinking now, are we at that point where the hards will be the better tire? What I will say is this: Mackey has lost almost the entirety of his energy store, down to his last 5%. So he will be unable to use that to defend or attack here. Palmer down to 17, race day 16, and Scornsy's actually saved up a little bit here, up to 30%. He's looking pretty good, but it's a 2-second gap now. Whoever makes this overtake here for this second spot will have to make it happen and then get going rather quickly. Although it appears that Mackey's losing time in the straight line. He was 2.2 on the way out of turn 8. He's now 1.7 into the braking zone of the horseshoe. Now up again to 2 seconds. Yeah, I think Mackey's, that car definitely looks better in the higher downforce section of the track, but in the straight line you could argue that Palmer is better, but either way, the acceleration from that Williams trumps all at the moment. 5 laps to go at the line this time. The battle for the win here has slightly subsided, but despite the second and a half advantage from Mackey back to Palmer, it is still anyone's game for that second spot. Palmer leads race day by 0.6, who leads Scornsy by 0.5. Nicky here trying to pressure Swee, not going to have much to say about that one. Chuck Blaze into the back as they try to get around Gunner. I don't think he's going to be quite close enough, although I tell you what, as I say that, Chuck Blazin may have a fair look here. Down to the inside, and yep, Chuck Blazin's going to have that one. Nicely done from the Alpine. So Mackey leads as they exit turn 8. The Williams driver, who currently on pace to win 6 out of the last 7 races. Incredible, incredible. His race win streak capped at 5. Tied for 3rd all-time in win streak. Nicky actually getting around Swee there in what initially appeared to be a slightly unorthodox part of the circuit. It was actually... No, it was within DRS. I just didn't quite expect it. Idiot. Mind you, the only other 2 drivers of the season to win races so far have been that of Scornsy and Palmer. Palmer winning Hungary round 2, and last time out in Brazil, Scornsy won the opening round in Saudi Arabia. And with 4 laps to go this time by, Mackey has a 2-second advantage over Palmer. Palmer really under pressure from race day here. Palmer using as much battery as he can. Scornsy saved up to 40%. Scornsy definitely conserving. He wants the ability to try for the win here at the end. Whether he gets it or not, that's going to be the question. He is starting to run out of time. As they go through Sector 1 now, we can go ahead and assume that those medium tires are going to be completely fallen off from Mackey and the hard tires at the top end of the grid. Battle now still on for second. Race day a half second behind Palmer. Tell you what, Palmer's car looking really good for the time being. Race day's car, for the moment, looking better in the straight line only just, but Palmer getting away on acceleration much better. And Scornsy, again, I think just kind of conserving a little bit for the end of the Grand Prix. Over the chicane they go, and up through turn 16 now, and down the very long back straight. It's a 2.5 second advantage. At the stripe this time will be 3 laps to go. Race Day had a bit of a peek down to the inside. Nothing serious from the McLaren driver this time. We'll have a look back. Gunner looks as if he's going to have a chance at Chuck Blazin. No, not quite. Unless he really tries something through the horseshoe. Caesar to the back end of VTech. That may be a close one here. Swee down to the inside of Nicky. Those two have been battling for quite some time. And it looks as if side by side through the 17th corner, Nicky retains the outside line. Bit of a slide there, though. And Nicky with a tank slapper on the way out of the corner, and Swee has taken the spot. Caesar and VTech here side by side again. These two have been battling quite a lot as well. As VTech takes 12th. Nicky's still 3.5 tenths of a second behind. As we've got about 2.5 laps to go here. Race Day now, I think, will have to start closing in on Palmer for good. As long as he has this overtake in a position where he feels comfortable. There it goes to the inside at turn 11, and Race Day slides in front of the Alpine and takes the second spot. Scornsey will try the outside. I tell you what, championship leader kind of on the ropes here. Scornsey in a good position has saved up nearly 50% of his battery. Nicky getting around Swee there into the horseshoe. Down the back straight they go. It'll be 2 laps to go at the stripe this time. Palmer will have DRS back to Race Day, but I don't think he's got enough battery to make something happen. Scornsey not even using his battery. Look at the speed on the Aston Martin. We'll have the outside of Palmer here. Massive implications in the championship. But Scornsey, I think, has botched the line. Going through 17, he's gone too wide through the corner, and that is unfortunate for Scornsey, who I think that move was definitely looking on for him there. 2 laps to go. Swee to the inside of Nicky. These two have been trading positions back and forth the entire race. Caesar and VTech now, once again. And to the inside. VTech, went into the wall! And that has to be said, probably a steward report on the way, because VTech has gone well deep into the corner, and Caesar's hit that outside wall. And now, once again, the battle for the second spot. Making their way down towards the horseshoe for the penultimate time. Scornsey still in position on Palmer. Palmer still relatively in position on Race Day. Mackey has to get around this circuit one more time to take his 6th win of the season. But the battle behind, again, huge championship implications in play. Palmer loses another spot here. He could theoretically lose the lead of the championship to Scornsey, as well as Mackey making even more headway. And now here goes Scornsey to the inside. And Scornsey is going to force Palmer the long way around. Palmer got trapped in behind the McLaren of Race Day, and Scornsey to the inside, and he takes the 3rd spot. And Palmer now has to work. Final lap of the Grand Prix underway. Palmer will look to the inside. He won't have it for now. He may want to conserve this opening part of the lap, so maybe he can use some battery. They're all pretty much even on energy store now, as this is an outright battle for the 2nd spot here. Race Day leads for the time being. Scornsey files in behind again. Scornsey, we think, has been conserving for at least the past 7 laps, which is putting him in this position. Out of turn 8 for the final time and making their way towards the turn 10 DRS zone. This is where you may see something happen. Palmer has not gotten a good exit out of turn 8. He'll have DRS, but he's not close enough. Scornsey now stays in behind for the time being. No lunge being made into turn 11. Palmer got way late on the brakes there, and he's made up, look at that, he's made up 5 tenths of a second cleanly there. He was behind by 5 tenths on the way out of turn 8, and he's made that all up with a significant brake zone there. Through the chicane and through 16 for the final time. Mind you, the quality of the division, we've only had 1 track limit penalty the whole day. And now, down the backstretch for the final time. Race Day has to defend. He'll choose to remain in the center. Scornsey will have to make a decision. To the outside he goes. Palmer looks on. Palmer to the inside. And Palmer backs off, checks. Race Day pushes Scornsey wide inadvertently. They'll be side by side of the line. Mackey will win the Grand Prix, his 6th of the season, but now Race Day will take him around the outside, nearly side by side of the line, and Race Day will get the 2nd spot by 7/100ths of a second. Scornsey takes 3rd, and Palmer, after a great effort, the championship leader, drops to 4th. Edwin will come round the line next, fifth, up 3 positions for him. Plums after that. We do have a battle here between well, we had one between Sui and Nikki there. Nikki's taken the spot in that one. Driver of the day for the time being looks like it's going to belong to Houdini, up 8 positions. Scavney up 7 as well. Great result from him. Nikki up 6. All of these great races. But it will be Mackey, his 6th win of the season. 6 out of the last 7 have belonged to this Williams driver. And what? It says he's retired from the session. What does that mean? Well, Mackey has won this race. I do not understand why it's pulled him down to the inside. It should be Mackey on the top step here. It may not be. Well, Scornsey not correctly taking the top spot, and that's just not even right. Mackey taking the race day. Mackey taking the win here. Race day second, Scornsey third, Palmer fourth, Edwin fifth, Plum sixth, Nikki seventh, eighth is Sui, ninth Scavney, 10th is Shariah, 11th Houdini, 12th VTech, 13th Caesar, 14th Cali Rob, 15th Travis Scott, 16th Chuck Blazin, 17th Gunnar Addy. Unfortunately for Tennell and Cynical, they did not find the end of the Grand Prix. Mackey is incorrectly being shown 17th. He did win today's Grand Prix. 6 out of the last 7 for Mackey. And that was a pretty solid race, has to be said. And, next week is Spa. That'll be a great one. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure joining you once again here in Division 1, and we'll see you next week.